brain, you're in the nerds domain. Come on in, it's about to begin.
Hi everybody, I'm Matt.
I'm John.
I'm Justin.
I'm Shirley.
And welcome to the Nerds Domain Podcast. Today we're talking about listener email and a topic we've thought up. So let's get into the email. This is from Ashley. It says, "Hey nerds, love the year-end review, and I want some more." Smiley face. What's up with bronies? Weird. Also, can you talk about some sports movies, i.e. Rudy, Blindside, and there's a bunch of other movies that they're listed here. Thanks, Ashley. So we talked about the second part of the email in our What You Doing podcast that went up on the 13th of April. So we've decided that we're going to review The Sandlot, and surprise, we're also going to review Space Jam.
Yay!
Those reviews should be up on the 25th of, the 25th of May. And, that is right. The 25th of May, and those will be available for you then. Otherwise, we're going to talk about bronies. So, let's go to our local brony expert, Johnny. Johnny, can you please explain to me what bronies are and why they're important?
Okay. Well, bronies are men who enjoy the cartoon My Little Ponies, Friendship is Magic, which is considered a cartoon for girls. It became a kind of a big thing. Was it summer of 2012? Maybe fall.
Yeah, that sounds right. Kind
Summer or fall of 2012 in New York. To my knowledge, the first ever BronyCon was held, where there were 500 male attendants. It was kind of a big deal. It was really a huge turnout for a convention specifically about one particular show that's at this point in time on season 4, if it's even still continuing to air.
I would guess it is.
I haven't looked.
It's pure money, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't see why.
I'm betting their ad demographic changed, but I bet it's still running.
I haven't looked at the actual listings. I watched it on Netflix. Season 3 just got added, and so that's cool. But
so what's a brony then?
A brony is a male fan of the show.
But why?
Well, I believe it's a combination of the words brother
or bro
and the word pony.
That's not
so
really answering my
brony.
question. Why would I be a brony?
Because you're a guy who likes the cartoon.
No. Why would I like this cartoon?
Why are you a brony?
Thus, being a guy, why would we appreciate a cartoon made for little girls?
Okay, so that is the core of the question.
It's not gender specific.
The cartoon was designed for female audience.
So why are you a little girl? That's the question.
Wow. Okay. So anyway,
this was going to be a mature conversation.
I didn't. I just didn't think it was going to devolve that quickly. So I've prepared a mature explanation and a few responses. Apparently, my co-hosts don't want to hear those, though.
No, go ahead.
I'm fine with hearing you try to justify this.
Anyway, I lost my train of thought now.
So why do you like the show?
Okay, so a little background information about myself. I am currently 31 years old. I have a 4-year-old daughter. We got into the show because she basically runs the television when she's awake at home, and we only really use Netflix to watch television, so she can, she can watch 26 episodes of My Little Ponies in a row if we don't stop her, and we don't always do that. But I got into the show because she was watching My Little Ponies and Bratz back to back. And I don't know if anybody at the table is at all familiar with Bratz.
They make stupid toys.
They do. They
have a TV show based on that?
Yes. Yeah. And they do direct-to-video movies. Specifically, the one that bothered me the most was the Bratz Babies.
So like Muppet Babies?
No.
Is it
well,
the Bratz
technically,
Babies?
yes. It's Bratz Brats are normally teenage girls or even preteens who are obsessed with physical appearance and clothing. And if a person doesn't have the best physical appearance and clothing, they're either completely ostracized or at best helped to become knowledgeable in clothing and makeup and not be the outsider.
So my sister doesn't let my niece have anything to do with brats.
That is a good thing.
And I always thought that maybe she was being a little overprotective, but you know what? It's not my daughter. I don't have anything to say about it. Maybe she's got it right. Good Lord.
Brats are not good role models for girls. Barbie, at least, despite the body image issues that people brought up with Barbie in the last few years that resulted in a change in the doll, Barbie at least put the idea in girls' heads that they can do anything. Mm-hmm. There is a President Barbie. There is Dr. Barbie. I mean, there also are cheerleader
Barbie versions of those jobs. I mean, the veterinarian Barbie is nowhere near a veterinarian-ish outfit.
Well, no,
she's got a lab coat on.
No, that's since
that's Nurse Barbie, not
since the model change. I disagree. The veterinarian Barbie that I almost bought for my daughter this year, she chose the mermaid Barbie instead. Wore full pants and a scrub top. I mean, it was decorated.
Okay, so they did.
It wasn't a plain color, but it wasn't capris. It was a decorated scrub top. I think she had a lab coat. She had a little box table stand and a pet.
But it wasn't the whole mini skirt
That's
thing.
Not the Barbie I remember.
When were you buying Barbies, Jesse?
What, me? I wasn't buying Barbies. I don't know.
But it was in the toy store and saw them, right?
Exactly. I work at Walmart. I work in the electronics department right next to the toy
Occasionally
department.
I wander over and go, look at the Barbies.
Anyway, the point is back on My Little Ponies. I guess I'm in charge of driving the topic. So yeah, Bratz was one of the cartoons she watched. My wife and I quickly steered her away from that after seeing a few videos, episodes, whatever you want to call it, because the specifically the baby Bratz were little girls in not diapers but panties, no pants, sometimes no shirts, running around a mall, crowded shopping center, trying to get themselves to a fashion/music performance so that they could pay the bully to release their dog. And
without any clothes on.
Where did they get money?
By winning the contest. Yeah. Their entire goal was to look pretty, sound pretty, be pretty, so they could pay the bully to release their dog. Not go to an adult and talk this over and have
somebody help them.
Yeah, they did nothing that that I consider proper and the right way to behave.
That does sound absolutely horrible.
It is.
Well, and at least in current shows that do that, where the kid doesn't ever talk to the adult, at the end it's always.
At the end, it's always.
Yeah, at the end, it's always. You should have talked to the adult. Duh, that's the lesson. Right. Were there no lessons in the show?
I don't recall seeing or hearing a lesson. There was another one where they had the genie of the Aladdin's lamp genie and a magic flying carpet, and they definitely didn't talk to any adults, even though that would have solved the problem immediately. Which again, that's kids' cartoons. But then in the end, they got away scot-free, and the dad knew nothing that happened. So Bratz is not good. My Little Ponies is a good show. It provides positive female role models for young girls to see. Granted, they're horses and not people, but they have real personalities. They learn lessons. And sometimes they do things where if they would just talk to each other instead of assume, but then in the end, that's the lesson they learn. And again, it's part of the formula, but one of the main characters always writes a letter to the queen of the enchanted land of Equestria that spells out the lesson they learned. They say why it was important that they learned this lesson and what it meant.
So would that be like the talking to the adult, or are there more mature figures on the show than younger figures? Not usually.
There are older ponies, and there are knowledgeable ponies, and there are times when a character would be a good person to go consult. For example, I'll reference a specific episode. There's Twilight Sparkle is a unicorn. Unicorns use magic. That's their thing. We'll talk about the others later.
So it's not just little ponies.
No. They are adults. They have their own houses. They have their jobs. They are taking care of themselves. Twilight Sparkle is in charge of the library in her town, where the other 5 main characters live. She's also the star pupil of the Queen, and she's trying to learn how to... friendship is magic, is the subtitle of the show. She uses her friendship to fuel her magic. So the more she learns about friendship, the more she learns about magic. Because you need friends in order to survive in the world, is what the overall lesson is of this show, in my opinion. I could be, wrong in other people's opinions, and I won't say that they're wrong. There's a lot of lessons ingrained in this show. But a specific episode, Twilight Sparkle is trying to learn a new spell when her future self comes back from next Tuesday and tells her she only has a few seconds to get this message across, but present day Twilight Sparkle is just so excited that future Twilight Sparkle has learned to time travel. She doesn't let future Twilight Sparkle get a word in edgewise. Future Twilight Sparkle pops back to the future, message undelivered.
Uh-oh.
So Twilight Sparkle spends the next week panicking about what that message was supposed to be, because future Twilight Sparkle looked a little worse for wear. She had a cut on her forehead, an eye patch over one eye, her hair was messed up, her clothes were torn. So Twilight Sparkle is worried that some impending disaster is going to come and, destroy the world or whatever, and she needs to stop it. So through the self-fulfillment of worrying about what's to come, she causes the problems to happen. As it turns out, future Twilight Sparkle only meant to come back and say, don't worry about the future, it will take care of itself. Had Twilight Sparkle listened to her friend Pinkie Pie, who is psychic, Pinkie Pie could have told her, the future handles itself. You can't worry about what's coming, you just got to deal with it when it shows up.
Hold on, can we stop there for a second?
I have a question
Just
also.
a second.
I want to interject.
They named the psychic Pinkie Pie? Why is she named Pinkie Pie?
She's pink.
And she likes pie?
Well, she does like baked goods, yes.
Okay, Jesse, it's all you.
Okay, you said when she came back, she was disheveled, cut, and her clothes were torn.
Yes.
I have seen a lot of toys of My Little Ponies around, and very few of them have clothing. I'm slightly disturbed. Do they wear clothing, or do they not wear clothing?
Generally speaking, they do not wear clothing. But on occasion, they do dress up in...
They're time travel trousers.
Yes,
no, they dress up in formal gowns to attend formal events. In this instance, they dressed up as ninjas, wearing black tights. They were just black or gray tights that only left their eyes exposed. So until they took off the hood. So the tights were ripped from crawling through thorn bushes to break into the library. I misspoke. To break into the magical library at the main castle where Twilight Sparkle does not live. Because I said earlier, she runs the library. Different library she's breaking into.
Okay.
She crawls through some thorn bushes and rips her clothes. Again, nothing was a big deal. But she was so panicked, it became a big deal.
This is a race of creatures that know about clothing to cover body parts, but still shun them to run around naked.
Unless they need to be a ninja.
Unless they need to be a ninja. And then they put clothes on that would actually restrict their movement.
Okay.
Well, if you think about it, they're an animal, so
let's back up again.
But still, they wear clothing every now and then.
So let's back up again for just a second. Why again do you like? Don't blame this on your daughter. Why do you like My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic?
Okay. Because the show has a mythology all to itself. It establishes rules and it keeps them. There are... The opening sequence is amazing. I keep telling these people they should watch at least the first 10 minutes of the first episode, but they won't do it because the artwork is amazing.
Okay, don't tell us why we won't watch it. No. I have plenty of good reasons.
The artwork is amazing.
And it was not what I was... No.
It wasn't magic?
Yeah.
They... in the first episode, they run into a manticore and they do the whole thorn in the paw thing where a pony that is good with animals realizes the only reason the manticore is attacking is because it has a thorn in its paw. I guess that's the second episode, but anyway. They like I said, they have their own mythology, they have their own rules, and they follow them. There's an episode where Pinkie Pie feels like she needs to be liked by everyone in Ponyville, the town they all live in. But there is an old donkey that lives on the edge of town who is a curmudgeon and refuses to be Pinkie Pie's friend. She spends the entire episode trying to figure out why he won't be her friend, only at the very end realizing she doesn't need to be liked by everybody 100%. A very good lesson to learn. Turns out she finds the reason the guy is a curmudgeon and gets his old high school love back, and the guy does like her, but in future episodes there are people who don't like Pinkie Pie. She tries once to get them to like her, and if they won't have it, then she moves on.
So they carry the storyline through other episodes.
Do. Yeah, it's not SpongeBob
storyline.
Yeah, the lesson storyline. It's not SpongeBob SquarePants where they blow up and burn down their house every other week, and then the next episode the house is fine. If something happens, it holds true.
Series.
I kind of have a follow-up question.
Okay.
They are working on season 4 now. Let's say it comes out and your daughter says she hates horses now and refuses to watch it. Would you watch season 4 without her?
Probably. Maybe not immediately, depending on what else I was watching. For example, I've missed... she watched 3 or 4 episodes while I was out of the house. And then Cartoon Network put a bunch of shows on Netflix. So I've been watching Batman Brave and the Bold and Justice League Unlimited. I have not gone back to watch those episodes that I've missed from the 3rd season. But I intend to someday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would watch season 4 if it was put on Netflix.
Okay, so why should Ashley watch My Little Pony? Why should anybody, not just Ashley, watch My Little Pony? Friendship is Magic.
Again, I've said it twice now, but the show has an internal continuity, that its own mythology that it follows and sticks to. It has positive female role models that just really they exhibit all the attributes that I want my daughter to have: bravery, generosity, kindness,
brandings,
wings. If Gwen grew wings, you'd be so excited.
Well, as long as she was healthy, I suppose. Yes.
I just have the fear the show's going to lead
excited about that.
Lead to young girls wanting to have tattoos when they grow up.
That's not what they're
exactly.
That's a whole other issue. Like, we were talking about that. I'm sorry to get off the Bronies subject, but we were talking about that. You're talking about branding, and it's about personal choice. And we were talking about it at work about how it's taboo in most office spaces to have tattoos, and most office spaces have you cover that up. And it's something that I said, well, if people don't normalize it and see it as not a personality well, as a personality choice instead of something that's, negative or you shouldn't do it. First of all, it's very artistic and it's part of artwork. I think that I don't know what episode you guys are talking about, but I think it's pretty cool to have, that role model to create a positive influence on something that's deemed as taboo or negative that is coming out into society now as artwork. So,
and you're. I agree with you on the tattoo issue. I
do too. As a person with a tattoo, I agree wholeheartedly that tattooing is an art form.
Okay. I'm not disagreeing that it's an art form. I think that there's a level of professionalism that can be maintained.
Yes.
And should be maintained in several professional environments that exposing tattoos that are inappropriate. I guess it comes down to personal choice. If you choose an appropriate or tasteful tattoo, okay with it. If you got a naked lady on your arm, you should probably stay covered up.
Why?
Because
we've made the female body taboo. It's okay for a man to walk around. It's okay for a man to walk around with his shirt off, but because we've sexualized a woman's upper body, now it's not okay for her to walk around with her shirt off.
No. I get what you're saying. However, if there are certain things that I don't want my child to see, and you're in a professional environment, and I can't keep that from happening because you're exposing whatever it is, that's no.
But if something's taboo or has been over-sexualized and we haven't normalized it to be that it's something natural and it's not taboo, then that's where the problem comes in. It comes in how society views
okay,
things.
Let's take a very similar argument. You're telling me that you're perfectly fine with people blaring their rap music that's full of cussing and degrading women because it's taboo, but that's okay because that's their choice.
That's not taboo. People do it all the time.
It should be taboo. It is taboo.
Well, there's actually an ordinance against high music playing and blaring.
But the
thing is, the words have a negative and derogatory connotation where the female body has no derogatory or negative connotation.
Okay, so forget the female body. What if it's something degrading?
Or anti...
Yeah, what if somebody has a swastika?
That comes down to personal, political, and religious beliefs. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I know what the connotation is, and I know that it's negative, and people are trying to wipe that out. But that's totally off topic, and we should probably say that for the podcast.
We got off topic, but I think the problem here is everyone has different lines. The concept of lines and veils will come up in another topic, but some people draw the line at nudity, some people draw the line at profanity, or profanity and nudity, and at this point in time, the people that we interact with are too varied on where those lines are, is the problem.
Right.
Because I agree, I would not want my daughter to interact with someone who has a naked woman displayed on their forearm, because I don't believe the person who would put a naked woman on their forearm has the right motives. They're not trying to break the taboo. They're trying to be provocative.
Because
how do you know that?
Well, you don't, and that's the thing. That is my belief. So is someone who would do that. It does, and where people are comfortable. Mm-hmm. And right now we're all in. The four of us are in different places. If we got down to it and said, okay, here's my list,
mm-hmm.
you would say this is not on my list, or this is and it's not on yours, and we would, we're just in too many different places. To bring it back to the My Little Ponies thing, the cutie marks, the tattoos that you're seeing on the horses, when the characters are young, they do not have them. As they grow up, they discover in themselves their true talent, their true calling.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment they figure that out, that is when they magically gain their cutie mark.
So it kind of magically appears.
It does. It's totally magic.
Kind of like the Care Bears, like they get
their belly symbol
right.
to represent their personality.
Right.
But I think they get theirs at birth.
Yeah.
They
Care
might.
Bear babies.
They had theirs.
They are born with
Care Bear
theirs.
cubs, not babies, cubs.
Yeah. So anyway, but the point is, in My Little Ponies, you don't gain a cutie mark until you know who you are. So again, there's that a reason to like the show, because you have to have personal growth in order to become an adult. Right. It's really a symbol of when you enter, not adulthood, because some of the young ones have. There's actually 3 characters who are trying to get their cutie marks, trying to discover who they are, but their peers in school in the same age range already have them. And that's a point of contention between the two groups of characters. But I like the idea of the cutie mark because it shows that they are comfortable with who they are, at least on a certain level. They have found who they are, and a tattoo should, in my opinion, be something similar to that. You don't just go get a butterfly slapped on your back because you're drunk in Florida.
Right, exactly. It's a personal choice.
Yeah, if the symbol you're putting on your body means something to you, then fine. So, I'm still not going to let my daughter get a tattoo until she's 18, because I don't think she'll have actually thought it through and understand.
Well, let's just be honest. When we were 18, we didn't think a lot of things through.
No,
either.
we didn't.
But
no.
You have a tattoo.
I do.
Of
a jester.
Of a jester. And your Twitter handle is Fool's Mask.
Yes.
And when you were going to do comics, what was the website?
Fool's Parade.
So yours is part of your, essentially, is your cutie mark.
Yes, it is. No, you know what? I never thought of it that way before. But I can accept that, and that doesn't bother me.
So you're saying you're a Bronie because you already have your cutie mark and you just have to accept it.
I guess so. I mean, it really. No, you're right.
Yeah, no.
A certain aspect of I realized a certain aspect of myself, and that part of the show speaks to me, and that's.
So it's sort of like their animal totem.
It
in
is.
a way.
You know, well, there's. I mean, it can be a crown, a tiara,
but I mean, it's that
a bow and arrow. But it's not. It doesn't always make sense, unfortunately, because once you've named 18 characters, you realize you're kind of running out of direct correlations to names and characters and symbols. But overall, there's one who becomes the photographer for the school paper, a young pony, and his cutie mark is a camera because he loves taking photos and he takes artistic photos. Applejack has an apple because she is dedicated to her family's apple orchard. She has a sister who's one of the characters looking for her cutie mark. Her name is Apple Blossom, and she doesn't have her cutie mark because she doesn't know what she wants to do with her life. Her family has made it clear. We have the farm, we have the orchard, but if that's not your thing, that's fine. So, she hasn't discovered herself yet.
That's a good message in itself.
So you like My Little Pony because it's wholesome messages, it's characters that grow.
Yes.
It's consistent and constant.
Yes.
And even though it's a bunch of goofy ponies,
yes,
it's still well written.
Oh, very well written.
Well drawn.
I like the art. I like the style.
Okay.
And then they do awesome things like bring Q in, John
Larroquette?
Not Larroquette, Q.
Yeah, I know that's the
I
one.
can't remember
John
his name.
Delancey.
Delancey. There you go. Played a villain in the second season opener who was basically just Q from Star Trek The Next Generation. He was Discord was his character's name. And he just went around and did crazy, funny stuff.
Discordant things?
Yes, discordant things. Like make chocolate milk rain from pink cotton candy clouds and all kinds of crazy stuff. So it blends the crazy cartoon that I love with positive role models and lessons that I want my daughter, who is the intended audience, to learn, and is all around a good show. And I highly recommend anybody who likes cartoons at all check it out.
So when are you dressing up?
I don't have any plans to dress up as
Well, we've got Gen Con coming up. Why aren't you dressing up?
I'll tell you what, if you can figure out a way to pimp the site using me in costume as a pony,
You heard it here first, guys.
I'm-
Johnny is going to Gen Con as a My Little Pony because I will find a way to pimp the site to do this.
Okay.
Well, as much as I hate to say it, I will give the show another shot because the reasons you explained it are well, and I recently stumbled across Fraggle Rock on Netflix.
Oh, that's
a while
amazing.
Have you
back.
never seen that before?
I absolutely love it as a kid.
Okay.
I didn't think it would hold up, and I absolutely love it now.
And,
It
you know,
holds
in
up.
some
The
ways-
story continues.
In some
but
ways, it doesn't quite hold up,
There's a
but
few
it's
songs
more
are
about
great.
when it was made
Yeah.
and not about the stories or anything. There's some effects and some sizing issues,
There are effects, yeah.
but
definitely,
don't
no.
ever go back and watch the Smurfs.
Oh,
Ever.
really? See,
I watched one episode. They had a dog, and the dog went from 3 of them could ride on its back to
The entire village.
to it was shoulder height to shoulder with the dog to the dog's paw was as big as the Smurf, and it kept changing, and there was no consistency in
really?
just the art. Not to mention the story was really, really shallow, just super shallow.
I forgot
That's
about
sad to
that
hear because
one.
I
Yeah.
thought about giving it a shot again too. But
Yeah,
for
no.
the same reasons you stated, you like My Little Ponies.
Yeah.
I like Fraggle Rock, so
Yes.
I might like.
Also, if you know, not to keep it girl centric, but on the note of Cartoon Network put on shows, they put on 2 or 3 seasons of the Powerpuff Girls,
Ooh.
which has very similar reasons why I like it.
Yeah, I'll go back and watch that too.
Yeah, that was an interesting show.
Anyway,
Okay, so that's some bronies. Johnny, you had a topic. I have it in my notes as RPGs. Do you need a world-specific setting? Can you give us a little more, like, let's open that question up and you explain a little more what you're thinking.
yeah. So, so when you buy a role playing game, a lot of times you get a specific world setting. So, for example, Dungeons and Dragons has a world setting, or has a generic fantasy setting, but you can purchase expansions to take it into Forgotten Realms, to take it into Greyhawk, Eberron,
Yeah.
Ravenloft, where the rules are made to fit the realm, to fit the specifics of the idea. The World of Darkness, again, isn't specific, but it's a modern Gothic supernatural tale where vampires, werewolves, and changelings and mages exist. Prometheus. Yes, all those things. I've gotten into the independent gaming through listening to other podcasts, Nerds Domain, Walking Eye. I've talked about them before, written about them on the site. They're fun. They have their positives and negatives. If you're looking for real play sessions, check them out. Possibly check with us in the future. Because I keep wanting to get these guys to do it, but
We're working there.
We're working on it. Stuff just needs to settle in the right way. But anyway, they play a lot of independent games that have specific settings, mech warriors type stuff, pirates on a ship. There's one story or one game called Poisoned, where they're so specific about it. The captain has recently been killed by the cook, and you have to deal with that issue before you can move on. And so there are very specific settings and things that have to happen. Meanwhile, I've also got other games that I've seen where GURPS is the name of a specific one. GURPS stands for Generic Universe Role Playing System. I believe Steve Jackson Games owns the license on. I know Steve Jackson Games.
I know they put out at least one of the
Yeah, they own.
different.
They currently own the license on the title GURPS. You gave me a book years ago Big Eyes Small Mouth.
Mm-hmm.
That one is a anime specific, but because anime runs the entire gamut of genres, you can play just about any anime you've ever imagined or seen in it. So when you guys look at role-playing games, do you prefer or require that a setting be available, or is it okay if there's a more generic, today we're playing fantasy, today we're playing sci-fi, but using the same rule system?
I'll go ahead and go. I didn't know if you...
Yeah, I'm interested in saying something, but you started,
Okay.
so you can go first.
So I will pick up a game because of what it's attached to. I really would like to play Serenity. The system is really bad. I still want to play Serenity. It's not really bad. It's not good. It's not great. It's just...
It could use some streamlining.
I like the Marvel role-playing system that we tried out. I love that. I think the system could use some tweaks. I think with a better, not 10-minute prep time that we gave you when we played that one time, I think that the transition scenes could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
I picked up at least 2 kinds of Star Wars. No, 3, because West End games.
Yeah.
3 kinds of Star Wars games. I've picked up... I played Warhammer Fantasy role-playing, the newest one that's horrible, and I'll never play it again. I usually pick up a role-playing game because the setting, and here's why. With every one, the rules are built directly for the setting and enhance the play because of how they're built. So in D&D, it's built across different worlds, but they're all very specifically fantasy. Now, they may be horror fantasy, or they may be steampunk fantasy in the case of
Magic
Eberron.
Punk.
Oh, yeah, Magic Punk, whatever. Or they may be low fantasy like Greyhawk, or high fantasy like Forgotten Realms. They're all fantasy. So even across those 4 worlds, each one has a different feel.
But a core
of fantasy. I picked up the Marvel role-playing game because I love me some comic books, and that's important to me. The same reason that I picked up the Marvel deck building game. I want to try it because I love me some comic books.
You have that?
It's down here. I
Why
bought it.
haven't we
Hoosier
played
Con.
that yet?
Rules are complicated.
Oh.
Really, the rules are complicated, and I haven't sat down and read
On
it.
which one?
So, Legendary, the Marvel role playing.
I've played it a couple times, so I can help you with the rules.
Well, you're not going anywhere after this. I've not played GURPS ever. I've avoided that somehow. I have played Traveler. Traveler is specifically space. It is the most convoluted character creation I have ever been through. Everything is based on, you roll on this table. If you get high enough, you go to the next table. Did you get high enough? Go to the next table. Did you get high enough? Go to the next table. I rolled 2 tables, got my entire backstory, my starting package, all of my stats, and I was done. The next guy rolled on almost every table in the book. He had way better stats than I did, way better equipment, way better training, way better everything, and there was no evenness there. So that is specific to Traveler, and that's how Traveler plays. Whereas I played Star Wars, and it's very... not West End games, because I don't remember how that ran, but everything for the 3.5 and the 3.0 that came out with that D&D setting, those were very as balanced as they were.
As D&D ever got. Yeah.
As balanced as a dude with a laser gun and a dude with a lightsaber are ever going to be. Those are balanced in their own way too. So usually I pick up a game for its setting. Even with Big Eye Small Mouth, I picked that up because it had a setting at the time in my mind. I used it to play superheroes.
Oh, sure, which is entirely
yeah.
possible with that system.
I picked up Silver Age Sentinels, which is Big Eye Small Mouth version, or it's the superhero version of the Big Eye Small Mouth rules. It's just slightly modified.
Yeah.
Big Eye Small Mouth uses
publisher?
6s. Silver Age Sentinels uses D10s. That's the difference, and then they adjust for that. I usually buy the setting. I cannot imagine, and this is just because this is probably how my mind works, buying a game with no idea what the setting is. Why do I want to do that? I can always take a setting and modify it, and that works fine for me. But if I'm going to play a game, if I'm going to play horror, I know Call of Cthulhu is out there. I know World of Darkness is out there, and they have two very different feels, and they have two very set ways they run. I can make a choice between the two. If I want to play fantasy, I have Pathfinder. I know how it runs. I have 4th edition. I have 3rd edition. I have 2nd, so on and so forth. I have other games beyond that. I can go to Monty Cook's stuff. The Iron
Kingdoms.
Iron Kingdoms. There's all of that. If I really want to play some down and dirty, hardcore fantasy, I can go to Warhammer Fantasy, where when goblins laugh at you, you take psychic damage. But it's not damage to your health, it's damage to your mind, and you slowly go crazy. That game is horrible. I mean, like,
Not bad to play, but no, bad to play.
I didn't have any fun.
Oh, well, that sucks.
So, and it's
That's
convoluted.
pretty bad.
There are cards. Everybody has cards for powers, and you have to tap, and then there's a recharge, and you combo. Which that part was kind of cool, but it made it confusing because everybody else was doing it too, and then we weren't sure where we were at, and there's a lot there. But I've played a little bit of everything, so it does come down to me for what do I want to play, where does that what games are available for that, does it meet exactly what I want? So I play D&D in my own world. You play D&D in your own world. Guess what they both are? Fantasy. Doesn't mean there aren't other aspects.
Right.
Yours had some. Yours had a little bit of horror, which I don't know if it came across as well as you intended, but it had horror in it. Mine has, I guess, some horror in it, but it has a lot of high-powered, high fantasy aspects to it.
Your other one had sci-fi in it.
Which I guess that technically my world has some sci-fi in it. My dinosaurs and spaceships.
Yes.
Some sci-fi?
Well,
you had spaceships, and that's a lot of sci-fi.
Actually, D&D in the S series, and I can show you this.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I had it.
Yeah.
One of the S series had a spaceship crashes on Greyhawk.
Yep, with a ray
Go
gun.
inside of it and find out what the crap is going on. And having read through that, don't go inside. It's horrible and you'll die. The S series was a special series that they ran as tournaments, and they're hard for a reason. So, that's my aspect. That's my view of it. Jesse?
I have a certain set of rules that I like to play by. So when I go out to buy new games...
Cheating is not a rule.
Well, true.
Screwing
Letting
everyone
people
else over is not
die
a rule
is
either.
not a rule.
That only happened once so far.
I heard you killed people all the
It
time.
happens. But when I do go to buy a role-playing game, it does have to do with the setting anymore, because I am looking for an interesting story to tell in the rules that I already know. If I don't like the rules, I'll just cannibalize the information that I need from the setting and put it in whatever setting I like. Very seldom do I work outside of that, and I think it's the current Game of Thrones role-playing game is one of the few new rules to a game that I really like. But it works off I think it was 3.5 Dungeons & Dragons rules. Weapons do your standard damage. Level 15, high hit points, you might have 11. And it's just a very dangerous world with low magic. And it's set that away for a reason. You don't go into a fight thinking you're going to survive. You go into a fight knowing you're probably not going to live through it.
And you hope to take the other guy with you.
Exactly.
So, do you care? Do you not care for 4th edition?
Not as much as I'd hoped I would. It's harder to bring other games into it than I can with like 3.5. I can take something like, I bought the role-playing game for Aliens. It was oldish. It was printed back in like the mid-90s, so the rules are kind of archaic and whatnot. And I was able to bring it into 3.5 pretty easily. I don't think I could ever translate it into 4th edition.
Well, I mean, the 3rd edition and 3.5 had Modern D20, and they took those same rules for Modern D20, which was just a modification of 3.5 rules, and then put D20 Past, or D20 Modern Past, D20 Modern Future, D20 Modern Dark Matter, and then they had their Urban Arcana, which was kind of modern, which was Shadowrun.
Yeah.
There
So,
was-
I mean,
it
Modern
just
magic.
seemed like there was so much more you could do with it. It was more
It,
customizable.
it was, yeah, it was very, and they designed the system that way.
Yeah, they
Fourth
did.
edition is not designed that way.
No.
Although I would argue that I could make something, I could help you tweak fourth edition to work for Alien. It just may not work the way you would want it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It wouldn't work fully.
You could, but it would take a lot longer, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, Johnny and I have talked about taking fourth edition and modifying it for steampunk.
Right.
You'd have to tweak some stuff. Some classes would go away. Some
Yeah.
classes would become more prominent.
Because I mean,
Change
once
flavor.
well, like I thought about this when back in the day when we did D20 Modern. Why would anyone be a fighter when there's guns?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so that's the problem with fourth ed. Why would you choose a fighter when you could be a wizard and blast people with rocket? In the steampunk world, have a rocket launcher.
I was going to give you
Yeah.
an answer to that.
No.
It's called lightsabers.
Yeah. But again, in the steampunk setting that we were talking about, a wizard can chuck a fireball grenade at you. Why would a fighter ever exist? Because he's never going to get in the range. Except fourth ed rules help you get into range
Yeah.
to hit him with a sword. So
So Shirley, you've been silent, and I know a part of why, but can you explain to our listeners why
It is
you're
late.
a little less talkative?
Well, one thing is I haven't been playing for very long, and I definitely haven't DM'd. I mean, I may someday once I start to
that's a
learn.
good podcast idea.
She ran one for us, didn't she?
Well, I think I DM'd
When
like
we were
one day.
previewing fourth edition for your game.
Yeah,
She
Yeah,
ran
you
an
did.
adventure.
You did.
I
Yeah.
DM'd like
Yeah, that
one
would be a good
time.
Yeah.
podcasting idea. 'Cause
But
I would be interested in playing.
You guys are talking about mechanics and things like that, and I go after the story. Like if I'm going to play something or look for something to play, I want to go in and have fun and be able to kill things. And I guess I like being on the player side of it more right now while I'm still learning all of the quote unquote platforms. I call them
Yeah,
platforms or
yeah,
whatever.
that makes sense.
That's a word. we can
But
use,
the funnest one that I've had fun playing is Nascrag. I cannot forget Nascrag at Gen Con.
Nascrag we played at Gen Con. It was a very heavily modified 3rd edition rule set. And by 3rd edition rule set, what I mean is we had eventually we had character sheets that had 3rd edition stats on them. But almost everything we did was puzzles.
It was like skill.
So we were
checks
given a
to
blank
get.
character sheet, and he said, which do you want? Top left, top right, bottom left, or bottom right? And we would say bottom left. Or we all had a choice. And he would give us one of that section, that fourth, front and back. And it would either, like, the front would have, like, our skills. Great, now I know what my skills are. I don't know my name. We all had amnesia. And on the back, it would give us a little bit of our information. Shirley and I played Sexy Kobold Twins. We were both female. And we had a thing that we learned very quickly because we got it on that first set. Because we realized after we got our first set that we had the exact same character sheet. Mm-hmm. With slightly different, just the very basic different information.
Right.
We found out through some very awkward motions that we were both very into the Bugbear. It was played by a guy we had never met, and he
was out of state. Like every time Matt would hit on him,
he was slightly uncomfortable. However, I maintained that I was role playing my character.
well, that's that lines and veils that I was talking about before.
So we had fun with it, but it was more about the puzzles and less about the character sheet. Well, we got up and danced and sang at one point because that's what you did for the puzzle.
Right.
We had a genetics lesson as one of the puzzles.
We had to do frog DNA. You had to mix different frog DNA to get the right frog.
Yeah, and it cost generic tickets. I'm pretty sure that every cent for those generic tickets went directly back to the company to buy the candy they were pouring in us.
Oh my god!
Because we started at like 10 and we ended at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we were they were feeding us. I had candy in front of me the entire night.
And see, this is the part of it for me. It's all about the story. I don't know what platform it was played on. I don't know the mechanics of it or why they played it the way it was or why they laid the story out. But it was just that much fun. And I like it when we sit around the table and we play D&D, like the game that we're playing now, because for me, that creates... I love to read, but for me, it's a physical story that I'm actually in, and it creates
interacting with.
Yeah, an interactive story.
So, but back to the core question then. If you were to say DM a game, would you prefer to be handed a world that you then had to make your story fit into, or would you like to be given a blank canvas to create everything whole cloth yourself?
I've got a ton of story ideas that I would like to play on my own. I don't think I want, to take my story and have to fit it into somebody else's rules. I want to go by my own rules.
And see, that's the example I'm getting at. GURPS, your characters buy traits.
Right.
If I'm the strong guy, so I buy traits that make me the strong guy. I spend my points to do so. Matt could then be the wily thief, and Jesse could be the brain with the laser gun.
That's a mistake.
Well,
because he'll kill everybody.
Right. But, and again, these are very generic and vague terms.
Right.
But let's say we wanted to play a sci-fi game. I wanted to play a superhero that was Superman. Strength, flight, 9 vulnerability, that kind of thing. But Matt wanted to play the space pirate, because it's sci-fi superheroes now. So I spend my points on getting my superpowers. He spends his points on building a ship, getting the proper skills, developing contacts.
Well, let's go back to a real world situation where someone says to me, "Hey, you want to come play my Sunday night game? We're playing Big Eye Smallmouth.
Yes.
The idea is mechs."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'll build something. Hey, I was thinking, tell me about your story. Oh, well, this alien race has rose up and they've taken over parts of the city and you guys are fighting back. Oh, I want to play a member of the alien race and I want Iron Man armor. Oh, okay. And does the alien race do magic? Yeah. Okay, I want to do magic too. I quickly and easily, not on purpose,
the way the rules were written.
Partially on purpose. I quickly and easily broke the system, made my character uber powerful compared to everyone else.
Well, the problem was we were using 3.5 spells in a system that was trying very hard to be 3.5.
But it was not.
But it fell short, and the spells just broke with everything else.
And so everybody that was specialized was super good at what they did.
Yes.
Phil was a transformer, and he could turn into a plane, and he flew super fast. And you know what he could do?
Fire
Fly
missiles.
super fast.
And shoot people with missiles.
Yes. Your brother Patrick had a dog. He was
a
1/5 of Voltron, honestly.
I think he was going more for a Liger Zero, but you don't know that show.
No, I don't. I gotta stick with what I know.
He was in a wolf mecha, is what he was.
So, with all that being said, you guys are going back to mechanics. If you have a GURPS, right? Is that
GURPS.
GURPS. If you have a GURPS, how do you just look at all the different platforms that are out there and say, okay, I want this one rule from this one and this one rule from
with
this
GURPS,
one?
which I haven't
because
played.
You have to create those boundaries, or everybody will either die at the beginning
That
or
is-
nothing will get
but
solved.
you have to make the same. You have to make the same distinction in Dungeons and Dragons, especially 3.5. You have to look at the plethora of source material and say, all right,
Monty cookbooks are out.
Monty cookbooks are out is a good start.
No psionics.
No psionics is also a good start. And you have to say, my world falls under these rules. I know we're playing D&D, and it is fantasy, and I've done this for my own game. In fact, for when I was running 3.5 in the world that I currently run our game in, I said, these are the rules I'm willing to work within. Fix it. And the one time I didn't do that is when I went, hey guys, we're going to play a monster game. Just here's some rules, and they're really loose. Just make whatever you want. And I got the
half.
he was
Oni,
half dragon, lizard folk.
Yeah.
Oni.
Yes. Half Oni, half dragon, lizard folk, or some
Reptilian.
Reptilian. And he got Celestial in there too. because I remember drawing feathered wings. For
You know
that
what?
character.
He wasn't dragon. He was celestial. He's half celestial,
Celestial?
reptilian,
That was
Oni.
it.
And then I got a mind flayer, who
Undead Mind Flayer.
Undead Mind
Becoming
Flayer.
a lich.
we had our normal guy was the halfling, and I felt really bad for him because he was a halfling rogue and he had nothing. So I turned him into a werewolf.
Yeah. I played a pretty regular character. I was the Cyclops mage, who was really good at riddles.
And was really into monkeys.
And was really into summoning monkeys.
Who else do we have in there? Oh, T rode his rhino everywhere, didn't he?
I don't remember the rhino being in that game.
He was a druid. I just remember he was a druid in one game and rode his rhino everywhere.
I just remember when that game fell apart, which seemed pretty quick. Somebody came back, wanted to be a mounted paladin, and we tried really hard to convince him. Like at early levels, it wasn't good because we're going underground, and he wanted his horse. And he would not play if he didn't get to ride his horse.
And so we made some... I think I was running at the time, and I was like, oh, it's some ridiculous ride check you have to make. And he had built his character all around his ride check. And he went, I made it. I rolled a 2.
Yeah.
What? Yep, I made it. I'm good. And then he was just lancing everything.
Yeah,
and underground. It was totally ridiculous.
So what game systems did you pull from for those?
For what?
That was
that was
3.5.
Well, and that's the thing. 3.5 has enough out. I just have to pull from it. I just have to narrow down what people can pull from.
So you were like, this is going to be like a D&D setting, so I'm going to pull from 3.5.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know what works in my world and what doesn't.
So you were talking about Serenity. What kind of game system is that?
Do you remember the Marvel Superheroes game we played a session of?
It's kind of like that. Yeah,
it is. That system is a derivative of the system that
you essentially have skills, and so in Marvel you have certain things that you can attributes
that you can tag to do actions.
In Serenity, it's you have your strength, your dex. They're not called that, I'm sure. It's probably strength and agility. You have your strength, agility, your con, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And then you have skills. And each thing is rated by a dice. So if your strength is really good, it's a 12. It's a D12.
Right.
And if your beating things with club skill is really good, it's a D8 or D10. Right. And you roll those together.
You say, I'm going to hit this guy as hard as I can with this club.
Yeah.
So the game master would then say, okay, that's your strength. As you pick up your D12, mm-hmm. That's your club skill.
I remember.
You pick up a D8 until you build your pool. And then you roll them.
And unlike in the Marvel system, the villains are more depth. There's more depth to them, and they fight back a lot easier. And it's a less of there's more of a cinematic feel to the Marvel system. I honestly feel like it, and that's not a problem. That's a statement. Whereas Serenity is a very mechanical feel.
Right. So we've been kind of talking about, like Serenity and Dungeons and Dragons, which are role-playing games that you basically build a dice pool off. Or build off of a dice pool.
Well, and Serenity and Marvel are dice pool games.
Mm-hmm.
D20
or D&D is a D20 game. Everything you do is off of a D20 unless it's damage, and that's it. That's all there is.
Okay.
I mean, that's essential.
Yeah, it is.
And then you were talking about New World, which is a live action role
Well, there are two options.
Yeah,
There's a dice pool game, again.
Which is the
tabletop.
Okay.
And then you've also played the live action role playing, or LARP as it's referred to, where you draw cards.
Draw cards or throw fingers, but draw cards.
Yeah.
Unless it's the old system.
Then you throw paper, rock, scissors.
Then you throw paper, rock, scissors.
Okay. When you first said throw fingers, I'm thinking I might want to get into LARPing.
You would both put your hands behind your back. You would choose a number between 1 and 10, and you would pull them out. You would add that together. If it's 10, if it's above 10, you'd subtract 10.
That's not nearly as fun. It's like throwing fingers at people.
No, you don't. No.
It's not like
so there are those. We talked about a game earlier tonight with George called Dread, where it's a Jenga setup.
Yeah.
See, that's one of those other ones.
I would like to try that.
And see, that one, it's all about drawing the Jenga blocks in a horror setting, because the point is the tension of the Jenga tower falling, because if the tower falls on your turn, that kills your character.
Yeah. Right.
So the concept there is a horror game. I forget now, I mentioned Walking Eye and Fandible.com. I forget which one ran it, but I listened to a game where they played. They were a space salvage team. They were in a ship. They came across another derelict ship in space. They attempted to salvage it. Things went badly for them. It's a great episode. If you go check it out, you should try it. Dread. But you could just as easily play a zombie survival game where you're teenagers, you've gone out into the woods, and you're at somebody's lake house, and zombies invade.
But just like D&D...
So like Halloween.
Yes.
Or
Just
Friday
like-
the 13th.
Yes.
Just like how D&D easily fits a fantasy game, Dread easily fits a horror game. And if you take it out of that element, Dread, it doesn't work as well.
But again, this, I guess, then this comes down to the definition of setting, because I consider horror the genre, setting being space hulks, zombie survival.
I can see that, but
So again, I mean,
but there's a difference between world setting and rule setting.
that is true.
I get what you're saying though. I do.
But I mean, again, the base question is, what do you prefer when you look at a game?
I base
Is it
game
done-
off of rule setting, not genre setting.
Okay.
Or genre setting, not setting.
So you don't care if it's space hulks or zombie survival, as long as the rules work for the horror.
If I'm looking for a horror game, I'm going to find me a horror game, and then if it happens to work for both space hulks and zombies and
Slasher flick.
Van Helsing,
Sure.
that all works for me. That whole wide thing. Cthulhu's the same way. Which, by the way, Cthulhu is a percentage game, sort of like D&D. Is it?
It's closer to D&D than
Yeah.
the dice pool.
So
World of
there's no
Darkness.
dice pool. It's a percentage, and then you do damage with weapons,
Right.
and then you die.
Because we
Well,
use,
some people die.
Yeah,
or some
Other people run.
away.
but
Because we use D10s. That was
Right,
it.
2d10,
in that game.
and-
But
That's-
Cthulhu has a Cthulhu Now, which is a modern game. We've played in the 1920s. There's There's a Cthulhu by Gaslight, which is 1890s. There's a Cthulhu Dark Ages, which is 1300s, and then there is a Cthulhu Future you can do. They're all horror and they're all Cthulhu. But they work. You change out a few things. I mean, there's a little bit of modular work you do there.
But that's mostly about the technology and the things.
Yeah, you're not going to have
interacting with.
firearms in the
Well,
Dark Ages.
yeah, I mean, but you
But
change out some stuff, and that's the difference.
But
You
is
change out a
the
few things.
magic the same?
Yes, it's worse.
So
I mean, in the future, you think you have technology that works, and sometimes that doesn't work right because it's too close to magic, and that's corruptible.
And you get sucked out of airlock. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was
I-
just throwing that out there.
I'm sure that happens quite often, actually.
So
Gotta
So
watch them airlocks.
I base my choice on game on genre. If it fits the genre and it works well with the genre, and that's the genre I want to play, that's what I play. That's why I play D&D a lot. I prefer fantasy role-playing games over sci-fi or superhero. I like superhero, but even then I haven't found something sustainable. I don't think the Marvel superhero game would run more than 2 or 3 sessions before we would all go, done this,
Unless the person running the game had a story they wanted to tell.
Yeah. So I mean, I just there are so few. So I prefer fantasy over sci-fi and superhero and
Horror.
Although, yeah, I do
But
like me some
blending,
horror.
Blending
Yeah.
the genres can happen.
Blending the genres does happen. I ran a fantasy horror game for you and Shirley for a little while.
Right, in the Ravenloft setting.
That we never finished because
Nope.
I slacked off on, but that's okay.
Right, we got other things got in the way.
So, yeah, sci-fi horror. I don't think I've ever played a sci-fi horror game.
that would be like Alien.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
Alien out
I've
there?
played a couple sci-fi. There is
It's
an actual.
It's
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
older
Setting.
system.
It is. It's hard
But-
to find one not falling apart.
Again, that Dread game. That's essentially what the other podcast played.
Right.
Was the derelict ship had zombie crew members or infected crew members, and they were running from them, and they were the derelict ship was had its power out in certain areas, and there was one survivor who was going insane, and it was It was a great episode.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Not heresy. What's the name of it? The Warhammer 40K.
Dark Heresy.
Dark Heresy.
Yeah, where you play as the bad guys.
That one could be a space horror game very easily, or it could be converted because Tyranid are just terrifying.
Yeah.
So I
hate
bet you that
fucking
one could be
crazy.
easily.
Like Stormtroopers, I could not watch that.
Yeah. All right. Is that everybody?
So yeah, basically you're saying all of your opinions is you got to be in the right mood.
I gotta hit. Well, I have to have a good story to tell that fits a genre, and once I find that, I'll find the rule system. Some genres or some systems work best. Like if I want to tell a Cthulhu story, might as well play Cthulhu because it works best. Everything's already there, and it's a solid system. So
yeah, I have a hard time working from an absolute blank slate. I like having a little bit to work off of.
And even GURPS has settings.
Yeah.
It does.
It has genre stuff.
But
yeah.
Again, you can
Yeah.
You can have a wizard and a cyborg in the same party, and the cyborg has a flamethrower and the wizard has a fireball spell, but they use the same traits or stats or powers to base it on. So that's. I don't know. I mean, I was just curious what your opinion is because I'm completely undecided. I'm toying with the idea of potentially making a game someday, but I can't settle on an idea, so it's probably one of those great ideas that's going to get put in a box and never see the light of day.
Okay. All right, well, that's it for us tonight, I think, on the Nerds Domain podcast. You can always email us at nerdsdomain@gmail.com, or you can catch us on Twitter. I'm at Quiet. Johnny is at Fool's Mask. Shirley is at sneds70. Justin is at J_Kimmett. Or you can get us at Nerds Domain, or with our Twitter handle of at Nerds Domain. You can also catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdsdomain. And we will talk to you real soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.